The following is a presentation of the Matt Talk Podcast Network.
Hi, I'm Jason Bryant from the Short-Time Wrestling Podcast and founder of the Matt Talk Podcast Network. Shows on the network are individually owned and operated, and those opinions presented and expressed may not reflect others, the sponsors, patrons, or the parent network. Find more shows about the greatest sport in the world at the Matt Talk Podcast Network at matttalkonline.com.
The mind of Pat Popolizio is a wondrous thing. And for you Pack wrestling fans, you'll get to go inside the mind of the Skip each and every episode here on the Pack Mentality Pop-Ins podcast. Now, here's your host, NC State Director of Athletics Digital Communications, Brian Reinhardt.
The NC State wrestling team returns to action this weekend as we have 4 that will be competing at the U.S. Senior Nationals. First time Wolfpack wrestling in action since back in March when they won that ACC tournament. So what better way to talk about wrestling action than with the head coach of the Wolfpack, Pat Popolizio. Pat, welcome back to the Pack Mentality Pop-Ins podcast.
Yeah, it's great to have you back, Brian. It's been a while.
It's been a while. You had the summer of Pat. We haven't heard from you for a while. How have you been?
I've been great. You know, my bigger concern is where you've been and what you've been doing. I call you. Obviously, you ignore my calls sometimes. It's all right. I understand you're busy writing. So when time allows, you know, we get to catch up, talk a little wrestling. And, you know, last time I saw you, you had about, I don't know, you almost had a perm on the top of your head.
Oh, it was a disgrace. I mean, it was a mop of hair. But I will say, I didn't get it cut since the ACC, so I guess I was protesting, kind of like the beard over there.
Yeah, we were both doing it, so we're in the same boat.
I think we both feel a lot better now, shaved, looking cleaned up. Yeah, looking a little proper here. But I could tell it's wrestling season. You're busy. The guys are busy. U.S. Senior Nationals, it's not your full team. You're only taking 4 guys, but how excited are you? I assume you're going, so you're going to be in the corner and actually coaching this weekend.
No, that is negative. I will not be going.
All right. See, so that just ruined my whole question. So.
Yep, I know. Killing your questions, but it's good for these guys to get competing. I just think our protocol to get back in coaching right now would be best to send out someone else because it's going to take a while to get back in the room with the way we have things mapped out to keep everyone safe. So understand that, know that, but at the same time, you know, I want to be able to come into our practices and watch and make sure things are going in the right direction and not be left out in the dark for so many days that we got to sit out for before we get tested again. So it was a staff decision to make sure that we are able to keep moving things forward with our training. So we just had to get creative, but I think the way we're doing it, guys will be in good position and they'll be fine.
I was going to say it's 2020. We're all dealing with some change, and this is a situation. These guys, as you alluded to here, you're coaching, but these guys are going to have to come back and quarantine themselves. So they're going to be away for a little while. Was that part of the hesitation of sending guys to the Senior Nationals this weekend?
Yeah, I think you got to be strategic now when it comes to competition. You know, if people fall under our protocol with the HCC and what they're looking for, it makes things real easy to get back and actually train and compete. But if not, then yeah, we got to go into that 14-day quarantine, and that really could set back, you know, some individuals in a team with what we're doing. So we figured we would strategically plan this out. Those guys have been training all along, so when they come back, they're motivated. They'll still be able to get workouts in. It just won't be with the guys in the team. So they'll be in a good spot. But it's part of the training that we implemented, a little bit of their breaks that go into it. So it's just kind of being in the front end of mapping things out for them.
I always appreciate when you talk strategery. So you're good right now.
Yeah, I know you like stats and planning. So, and per diem. I won't get into that.
I love a good itinerary. But all right, yep. U.S. Senior Nationals Saturday and Sunday out in Iowa for the Wolfpack wrestling team. Jacob Camacho, he'll be at 57 kilos. Hayden Hidley, he'll be at 74. Trent Hidley at 86. Nick Reenan at 97. Pre-seeds have actually all come out. All guys are in the top 10. I'm just going to have you kind of talk about each guy and how they've been training and what you've seen of them this summer. First up, Camacho. Obviously saw him win that ACC championship back in March. I'm not too familiar with his freestyle resume, so can you touch on what you've seen out of Camacho this summer, and how do you think his style will translate into freestyle?
Yeah, he's got a great style for freestyle. I think, when you got some speed behind you, that goes very well for freestyle. And I think that's something he's been very creative. He's a fast learner. He's a student of the sport. So, yeah, he's a guy that doesn't have a ton of freestyle experience, but this is what you do. You go and you get it by going to compete and training it. And he's been doing that all summer, knowing that he wanted to go compete this season in some freestyle tournaments. So, coming off of what he did at the ACC tournament, he built a lot of confidence in himself. And he looks like a totally different wrestler now in his training. There's no bumps in the roads for him as far as workouts go. Everything looks very fine-tuned, very professional when he's training. He looks like, one of the senior level guys that's here. He comes to practice early. He's very focused, very zoned in. His weight has been the best it's ever been. I think that was a problem last year. He was way over the weight class, and that was more of an issue, trying to get him down the weight. And now I think he's walking around, right over that 10-pound mark, being very disciplined with his diet, and knows that he could be one of the best guys in the country, making a world and Olympic team down the road here.
I'll say everybody probably but myself is probably, you're included. You're walking around 10 pounds overweight too. So it's not just your
weight
guys.
We're talking. Yeah. Depends what weight we're talking. You're not a 74 pounder anymore.
Nah, I dipped down. I went down to 65 this summer. I was proud of myself.
Yeah.
I'm an Olympic runner out on that track now.
I know. I've seen some of the workouts you sent me. You just got to get you on a lifting plane now.
So Camacho's going to be the 10 seed at 57. Hayden Hidley, a lot of experience. He had U23 freestyle experience. He's the 6 seed, and this bracket at 74, it's kind of what we didn't see at the NCAAs. It's kind of that all-star bracket where you have Deacon out of Northwestern, Hayden, Carr out of Iowa State. Loaded field. What do you think about Hayden this weekend?
I think he's in a good spot. He's got a lot of experience. He's wrestled in almost every tournament you can possibly wrestle in to get himself ready for this. And, like where he sits with matchups, obviously you got to go out there and you got to compete and you got to win. But, the seeds are just a number on a bracket. And as you get down to the later rounds, there's going to be some competitive matches. So he knows that. And his focus and training has been rock solid since the ACC tournament. That's one thing you don't ever have to worry about him and Trent is their work ethic and their training. They're on the mat all the time and looks good. I think freestyle is something that these guys like to compete in, and they got a good style for it. Having that push out, I think, is going to be critical for a guy like Hayden, who's very good at, positioning and wrestling on the edge. So I think you're going to see some things work to his advantage this weekend.
His brother Trent, obviously last summer, junior world medalist. He's actually going to come in as the 3 seed, the highest of the 4 Wolfpack competitors. Trent's really looking forward to getting back in freestyle. Can you kind of talk about his training this summer?
Same as Hayden. Those guys have been working hand in hand with each other. The luxury of them being, living together, growing up together, when they go home together, when they're here together, they can work out with each other. So as we were over this break, those guys didn't miss anything. They were working out every day, every week, whether it was here in Raleigh or on the road doing a camp somewhere or back in PA. Those guys find a way to get on the mat and continue to get better. And what I love about Trent is he's really diversified his offense this offseason. So he's added some new attacks, which I think are going to pay off big time for him as we get back into competition mode. Everybody knows that he's really good scoring out of underhooks. Both the guys are phenomenal at it, but now he's going to be super dangerous with some attacks that he's implemented into his offense. And that's him being creative, working with our staff as well, but ultimately Trent knowing some of the things that he needed to prove upon towards the end of last year, and he put a lot of focus into it, and I'm excited to see him implement that this weekend.
I was going to say, I saw Trent's bracket at 86. It's also like a college all-star event. He's going to definitely run into some guys he sees during college, so that's going to be exciting. And the final Wolfpack competitor, fellow redshirt senior, Nick Reenan, he'll be up at 97. Nick had great success back in 2018, the Final X. That kind of put him on the map and ran into a knee injury. We're actually going to hear from Nick later in this podcast about that and just about getting back into freestyle. But it's been a while since Nick has gone into freestyle. Everybody wants to know, how is Reenan doing from a coach's perspective?
Yeah, I'm excited to see where he's at, too. I think it comes down to what Nick wants to do. He can accomplish anything. We know he's talented. We know he's got the ability to beat anybody at any given time. And now it's time for him to get back on that horse's winning ways. The reason why we brought him here is to win the national title, whether it was in the off-season at freestyle events or winning NCAAs. And that's a decision he's got to make at this point. Does he want to be the top guy in the country, or is he going to be kind of going out there and accepting anything less? And I think knowing him, he's a true competitor. And I think he's, he'll be the first to tell you, I'm sure, when you hear from him, that he wants to be the top guy. And I think what he's accomplished thus far has been a little under his standard, I guess I would say. So he's got a year to really put it together. And that's the one thing right now is he can focus on is just getting better at wrestling. And obviously I think he spent a lot of time this summer getting healthy and working with our therapist and trainer to get himself back to 100%. So it's going to take a little while, I think, for him to mentally get where he wants to be, knowing that he is elite again. And I think it's just going to take one or two good wins over some competition. And that's why we're sending him this weekend. I want him to know that he is right there, not far off from beating the best guys in the country.
Like I said, we've mentioned U.S. Senior Nationals taking place this weekend out in Iowa. Saturday and Sunday is the freestyle for our 4 from Wolfpack Wrestling. You can watch everything on Flow. And Pat, we talked about this tournament, broke down each guy, but what does winning this tournament, or what does even placing in the top 8 do for these guys? Like, basically, what's the purpose of them competing this weekend?
Ultimately, it's just to go out, get better, get some matches. Guys that want to wrestle freestyle, see where they're at. I think more than anything, just for themselves. There's not really a whole lot on the line. Winning is most important for these guys, being ultra competitive. And I think that's what you get out of all 4 of these guys is they're true competitors. It's why, our program's elevated itself, because these guys are a huge part of that when they're in the training, whether it's winning the sprints, whether it's winning in a dual meet, tournaments. They all go hand in hand here. But I think top 8 will qualify these guys for Olympic red shirt if they want to elect that. I know Trent and Reenan already have that if they want it. And Camacho and Hayden, I think placing in the top 8 should give them that option to take next semester off and take an Olympic red shirt. Still a lot of up in the air, a lot of unknown. But we're taking everything day to day right now and just going out there, wrestle our best and compete.
I'm not even going to ask you about the schedule because I know you never answer my questions. But training, you said these guys are back. What is training for your Wolfpack wrestling team looking like these days?
Yeah, it's definitely not the same as what we typically do in September, October. That's been different. Usually we're running our preseason workouts right now, really building some endurance into our legs, getting our weight under control. We've shifted our focus right now into just getting better at wrestling. And that's first time in a long time we've been able to do that as coaches. Usually we're out on the road recruiting. So as a staff, there's not a lot of times we're all together in a practice. Someone's always missing because they got to go up to this tournament, go see this kid. There's an event here that we got to be at, or we're competing. But having everybody together, I think, has been critical for us to develop the guys that are in-house. And I think it's been a good time for us to really just focus on what we needed to for individuals and as a team right now. So as we gear up closer to January, we'll shift ourselves a little more to that endurance type workout, building some conditioning as some guys need it, but some guys are just naturally in great shape already.
And we're going to turn our focus really quick. I'll get you out of here on this. For me, there's nothing better to watch than a wrestler swing a golf club. And you're going to have that opportunity again. Wolfpack Wrestling Club is going to host their annual golf outing. And over the years, you've come up with different names for this thing. It's the worst named golf outing ever. But now, solid name, Golfing with the Wolves. Very simple. Yeah. What's this, third or fourth year, and finally nailed the name. So congratulations to you guys. But
it takes time. We got it down now.
We're looking October 16th at the Wildwood Green Golf Club here in Raleigh. We're still going to hold this event. I think that's great. It was a little up in the air, but this is a huge thing for the Wolfpack Wrestling Club. Obviously, it's a great fundraiser, but just a chance for golfers to come out, meet wrestlers, meet former guys, meet you coaches. Once again, talk to me about the golf outing and the importance that it serves for your program.
Yeah, well, one, I know we got a lot of golfers in-house, out-of-house, so a lot of people like golfing. I personally am not the best golfer, but I'll at least look good trying, right? Get a good pair of shoes on and throw on the golf outfit.
Mini golf. You're a good mini golfer, so your short game, I guess, is good. Okay.
Yep. No, this is big for funding for us. We do a lot of different events, trying to get creative to keep things moving in the right direction as we want to send guys to the U.S. Open, the 20 and under nationals, get guys on world team, get guys out when it matters to go overseas and compete. These are the ways we do it. We're fortunate enough to have a really good club and a lot of good support right now. And it's been paying off because the guys that are graduating want to stick around and keep training. We're putting them in position to do it and to be one of the elite programs in the country. This is what's required of us. And it's a lot of extra work, but we're willing as a staff and a program to take this on, and just fortunate enough to have really good backing and support by people within the community that either want to, one, help run these events, or two, want to just give what they can in donations, whether it's prizes or some kind of funding to keep these guys moving in the right direction.
And everybody is invited out to this event. You don't have to be a golfer. You can come, hang out, watch. It is going to be, again, October 16th at the Wildwood Green Golf Club here in Raleigh. And for more information to figure out how to register to golf, how to be a sponsor, or just how to donate, go to wolfpackwrestlingclub.org. Pat, thanks for catching us up. I speak for myself, obviously, but everybody, we're just excited to see some of your current guys get back into action. And this weekend is going to be a great event out in Iowa. 4 guys wrestling freestyle. So thanks for taking the time and catching us up on what's going on with your program.
As always, appreciate it, Brian. And hopefully this weekend you get a little downtime where you can get on that computer and post those results live. Everybody would be greatly appreciative to that.
I will try. I have about a 16-hour workday on Saturday, but I will see what I can do.
Yeah, squeeze in a couple of minutes for us. That'd be great.
Now, after we hear it from Pat here, stay tuned. Our next interview, we're going to catch up with one of the wrestlers going out to Iowa this weekend. Nick Reenan is going to join the podcast, so stay tuned. Let me interrupt this episode and take a few seconds to thank our great fan base that continues to support NC State Wolfpack Wrestling and especially support and listen to this podcast. The Pack Mentality Pop-Ins podcast is now in its 4th season covering the Wolfpack Wrestling program. During our first 3 years, the Pack Mentality Pop-Ins podcast has had featured guests such as a pair of WWE Hall of Famers, an MMA world champion, multiple former NCAA champions and All-Americans, and of course, the current coaches and student athletes of the NC State wrestling team. To continue to support this podcast, please go in and subscribe to the Pack Mentality Pop-Ins podcast on any of your favorite podcast platforms. Just search hashtag Pack Mentality. And also please follow the NC State wrestling team on social media. On Twitter, we're at PackWrestle, and on Instagram, we are Wolfpack Wrestling. Joining us now on the Pack Mentality Pop-Ins podcast, we have redshirt senior Nick Reenan, who will be one of the 4 from NC State Wrestling in action at the U.S. Senior Nationals. Nick, thanks for joining us today. Glad to have you back on the podcast.
Yeah, it's nice to be back on.
And of course, we are previewing the Senior Nationals. Really simple question. How excited are you to get back out onto the mat and compete in a tournament? It's been quite a while since we've seen you in action.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a while since probably a lot of the guys have competed, so it'll be nice to just get out and compete and do what we're here to do. But I think definitely it's been a little bit longer for me. I don't know. I think I'm very excited to get back on the mat and get to compete again. So
we know you had off-season surgery after 2019, and you were limited in action last year during the college season. How is the knee now heading into your senior season here?
I mean, I'm doing pretty well. I think I got everything fixed up that I can. So I think it's going to be a good tournament, good season. So I'm excited to finish up strong. It's kind of like my last year. So putting everything into this season and putting everything into this last year, and I'm ready to go.
You dealt with this knee the second half of 2019 and again last year. 2019, you had the tear, last year recovery. How much of a challenge was it for you during last season?
It was actually a pretty big part of my season, which was annoying. I'd like to just focus on wrestling and I'd like to just focus on getting better. But instead, a lot of my season was basically focused around like trying to get better and trying to like physically better. And that was kind of frustrating, and I think it definitely affected my mental game. So I think this year, big part of my season is going to be just, remaining mentally tough and getting through the season with as little physical problems as possible and just trying to get as good as I can.
What's the knee pad situation? I feel like you hated that knee pad last year.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of knee pads, but I mean, I don't think I need one this year. My knee's feeling pretty good, but I'm going to wear it anyway just because I don't want any problems. But no, my knee's been feeling really strong lately. So we've been wrestling a lot and hasn't had any issues yet. So, knock on wood, seems pretty good so far.
What was your off season like this past summer in regards to rehab versus you just taking some time off and getting some rest?
I took some time at the end of the season to kind of recover a little bit and do a lot of rehab. But other than that, most of the summer has just consisted of, regular training and lifting a good bit, wrestling a good bit. And, I'm going to rehab twice a week with our physical trainers here who are really great. And the training staff here has been really helpful in making sure that I'm good to go and I get whatever I need. So that's been awesome.
And NC State practices, you guys were able to get back on some mats in September. How have the team practices been for everybody right now?
They're definitely different than what we're used to. We have pretty open mats, but also the coaches can't really be as hands-on because we're trying to be as cautious as possible and trying to make sure that we have as limited contact as possible. And everyone's only training with one person. So it's we can try to limit any kind of issues as much as we can, which is really, I think, the right thing to do. But also it's kind of frustrating because I'm somebody who likes to wrestle with a bunch of different people to get a bunch of different feels, and, being limited to just one person kind of gets a little monotonous, but it's definitely the best we can do. And I'm glad we have the training situation that we have and that we're being as safe as we can, because it's definitely a serious issue.
Who's your training partner been?
It's been Christian Knopf.
Okay, so Wolfpack fans didn't get to see him last year. He was out with injury, redshirt freshman. What's a kind of a quick scouting report on him?
He's doing well, I think. He's kind of coming off the same kind of injury I had, so we've been doing a lot of the same stuff, going to rehab together and everything. So I think he's looking good. Taking it slow because there's not really too much to train for right now. So I haven't really had too much contact with him last year, even though we were both in the training room quite a bit. But he's been a really good guy to be around, train with.
Senior Nationals, of course, it's a freestyle event. Have you had any separate practices, or have you done anything with the RTC guys outside of regular NC State practices leading up to this weekend?
Not really. Again, we have the whole. We're trying to make sure that we limit contact with as many people as we can. So it's been pretty much just like regular practices with, maybe we'll wrestle a little bit more freestyle oriented than the other guys in the room. But as far as like wrestling with RTC guys, no, it's not really something we're allowed to do or something that we really want to risk at this time.
Hey, we talked about your return from that knee injury, and looking back, correct me if I'm wrong, but is this going to be your first freestyle tournament since Final X in the summer of 2018?
Yeah, I think so. Should be.
How's it going to be for you to get back into freestyle?
I think it'll actually, to be honest, be pretty rough. I don't transition from folk style to freestyle very quickly. It takes me a good bit to get used to, it's a little bit of a style change. I know you're supposed to kind of wrestle the same way as you do in folk style, but I really don't. So it'll take me a minute, but I'm just glad to get out and compete. And, I think we have a good training situation here and such that we'll be a little bit more prepared than everybody else. I'm not really either also cutting any weight for this tournament. So it'll be good to just go out there, compete, and not have to worry about any kind of extra stuff like cutting weight or, anything like that.
I thought you enjoyed a good weight cut, though.
I usually am always in the weight cut, but unfortunately, the nature of how we could go to this tournament, there wasn't really a lot of advanced notice. So because we just didn't know if we would be cleared to go or not. So it was just, I'm not cutting weight for something like this. It's just not, it's better to go get some competition and just really get better from the tournament, not worry about any kind of extra stuff.
Any urge to go Greco instead of freestyle?
I was actually really thinking about it. It would be really fun. I think it'd be good to get back to my roots, but no, we don't really have right now the training situation where we could really focus on that, because I think as much as Greco is, I think I could do Greco and be successful with it at NC State. It's just tough with that we're not wrestling with RTC and we're not wrestling with those guys. So it would be tough to be training for a completely different style. Freestyle is close enough to folk style where it's I could definitely do both in our regular practice, but Greco would be a little bit of a curveball. So probably stick with freestyle.
Going back to that 2018 Final X, you took first at the World Team Trials. You were at 86 kilos. Senior Nationals, you're going up to 97. What kind of difference is that going to be for you?
I don't anticipate wrestling 97 probably ever again, but I think it's it was an opportunity to wrestle. That was the weight I have. I'm going to go. I'm not going to cut down to 88. So I expect probably there will be a lot of heavier wrestlers, but I also think because of the way that everybody is kind of quarantined right now and everyone's kind of taking a step back from training, I think probably there actually will be not too many people cutting weight. And I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I think I'm big enough for the weight. I think that weight doesn't really affect how you wrestle very much. So I think I'm ready to go.
Who's bigger right now, you or Mock?
I think weight-wise, I'm probably heavier. But I think as far as strength and just general how big he is, I think he's probably bigger than me.
Now, Senior Nationals, 97 kilos, it's really stacked. Just looking at the entry list right now, Kyle Snyder, Colin Moore, Ty Walsh, just to name a few. How excited are you for this level of competition?
I'm always ready to go out. I'm always pumped to go wrestle guys who are supposed to be the guy for their weight class. There's no real, I don't think, pressure for me to go out and beat those guys. So I'm going to go out and try to surprise some people, because I don't think it's I don't think it would be a surprise for me to beat those guys, but I think it would be for other people. So I think it's always fun to go out and beat guys who maybe you weren't supposed to, or maybe that people think are better than you. So I'm pumped.
Have you ever been out to Iowa?
When I was younger, yeah. I haven't been in quite a while.
Okay.
Not a lot of tournaments actually happen in Iowa, I don't think, like higher level tournaments.
That's what I was surprised. New arena, though. It looks like a really nice environment for this weekend. But I was going to say, is there something in freestyle you like better than folk style and college wrestling?
Yeah, I think the main aspect of freestyle wrestling, I think, is more suited to my style. Is like it's very exposure based. So you can hit a headlock or something and get 4 points, and you don't even have to hold them there, and you get 4 points, and it's pretty low risk. And I think that probably suits my style a little bit better. And also just, I don't know, it's just more fun to wrestle freestyle. I think there's more variety. There's bigger tournaments. I think there's more at stake. So I think I just really enjoy the whole aspect of freestyle wrestling, the culture of freestyle wrestling. And
you are a student athlete. Got to turn to academics real quick here to get you out. 2020 ACC Academic Honor Roll, congratulations. What is the major and where do you stand right now?
I'm getting pretty close to being done with my environmental science and marine science double major, but I need pretty much the last thing I need is external learning credits, which is basically like I need an internship or some kind of research role. So I'm currently getting that finished. But other than that, like I'm pretty sure I'll finish up next spring, spring of 2021. And, I'm pretty excited for that. Yeah, it's been pretty nice.
Now, people know NC State's been offline. You're involved in those sciences. How different is it for you to not be going to class or going to labs or anything?
It's actually been really frustrating because I was supposed to take a class last semester at CMAS, which was NC State's. It's an external campus, but it got canceled because obviously we can't be sending a bunch of people to dorms, and somewhere off campus. And that was something I was really looking forward to, and now I can't take that possibly until next summer. And I'm not really sure what their plan to do about that is, but that was pretty frustrating. And then also taking like science classes and like physics and chemistry classes online is a little bit more difficult, I think, than in-person classes. You just don't have as much interface with the professor, and there's a lot of recorded lectures where you can't really ask questions if you have a problem until later on, like at Zoom meetings and stuff for the office hours, instead of being able to go in and ask questions and show your work. And actually, I think you just get more out of being in person. But I think NC State's done a really good job of making sure that everyone has what they need. Like if you do have a question, you can still reach out to your professors, and you can still go to their office hours and make sure that you're getting your stuff. You're getting the education that you paid for. So I think it's not too much of a problem if you're proactive about it. But it's definitely a little bit more difficult than actual in-person classes.
Nick, thanks for taking the time to call in today. Great perspective. Senior Nationals, a lot of eyes will be on this event. First time current Wolfpack wrestlers will be in action since winning that ACC title back in March. Nick, good luck to you out there.
Thank you.
I want to thank everybody for listening today. This is your Pack Mentality Pop-Ins podcast covering all things NC State wrestling. Until next time, Wolfpack wrestling fans, go Pack.
Mentality Pop-Ins podcast is produced by the Matt Talk Podcast Network. For more wrestling podcasts, go to MattTalkOnline.com.